All right, we're live. So welcome back to Dapp University. So things are looking pretty rough out there in the crypto markets right now. And in this video, I'm going to talk about, kind of what's going on, what I expect to happen in the short to midterm, and, what you should watch out for. All right, we're going to look at that. We're going to look at some other exciting updates that have happened in the space. So it's not all just, bad news today. And a lot more. So if you're new around here, hey, I'm Gregory, and on this channel, I turn you into a blockchain master. So if that's something that you're interested in, then smash that like button down below for the YouTube algorithm and subscribe to this channel. And if you want to learn to become a blockchain master step-by-step from start to finish, then head on over to dappuniversity.com/bootcamp to get started today. Last but not least, nothing I say in this video is designed to be financial advice, designed to tell you to buy or sell any cryptocurrency based on this information, and there's lots of scammers down in the comment section below. Just ignore them. Like, I'll never give you my phone number or ask you to invest with me. All right, so we got people jumping into the chat here. We got Culture Hives. We've got Akshit, Bruno, Z, really, THX Life. Welcome. Hope I said your names right. Okay. So let's go ahead and jump into this. Things are looking kind of rough in the crypto markets today. I'll just go ahead and pull up the chart on my screen. But, Friday I made a video with this live stream. We do these live streams Monday through Friday on this channel. Just turn on notifications, subscribe to the channel down below. You'll find out about those whenever we go live. Talking about how to watch out for crypto over this weekend, okay? I talked about the, Greyscale Bitcoin Trust unlock that was happening and how, that could, basically put some sell pressure on the market. In addition to the overall just bearish momentum that we've had on the crypto markets over the past, several months. So let's go ahead and pull this on my chart here. So you can see, we've been talking about this over and over again. Basically, Bitcoin had its big drop here from all-time highs. We continue to make lower lows. We kind of had a double bottom here, and we've been watching this, trying to say, hey, can Bitcoin break out of this trend? Can we continue to make, higher lows ever since this double bottom here? And, we have not done that, put it that way. So basically, today we're seeing this red candle form here that is making a candle body that's at a new low below where these two lows were right here. Things are looking kind of ugly because, of course, Bitcoin's below its long-term moving averages here. Basically, it's failed to break above any of these moving averages. As always, I'm not a big technical analysis person. I just kind of like to look at the big picture here about what's going on with the Bitcoin price and look at things in terms of big probability. And I do think that moving averages are a pretty helpful indicator of what trends are going on here, simply because it measures the asset's current performance based on its past performance, okay? I'm not necessarily saying I'm predicting exactly what the Bitcoin price is going to be based on these indicators, but it kind of gives me a sense of like, hey, where's this headed in terms of likelihood, what's going to happen next? So in terms of likelihood, it opens up a lot of new probabilities, okay? I think some of the probabilities that are increasing in likelihood on the table are that we break 30,000 and actually go into the 20s, okay? I'm not saying that's going to happen. It's just an increasing likelihood with the price action that we're seeing here. $30,000 is a pretty strong psychological number that I think people want to defend. I mean, we've wicked down into the 20s here several times. But so the idea that we could actually form a candle body on the 20s is definitely more and more on the table, okay? And other thing that's increasingly on the table is that whenever we do that, there's a increasing chance that we could make a fast, sharp move even lower than this 30,000 level, way down in the 20s. Why do I say that? Well, because a lot of times when you see the volatility decreasing like this, sometimes that's an indication that sometimes that precedes basically a sharp move in either direction, either up or down. And if you're tracking the overall velocity of what's going on right here, what's the momentum? The momentum is downward, right? So the path of least resistance is to drop whenever the volatility shrinks, and those are the increasing odds on the table. Again, this is, this is not something I'm super excited about, but I want to sit here and be realistic about what, is likely to happen. Now, if this doesn't happen, I'm super, like, that's great. I'll be glad to be wrong. This is a case where if we're wrong, that's awesome. But if we are wrong, let's look at the other possibility here. I don't think that we're in a case where like Bitcoin's just going to shoot up back to its all-time highs. I think if we're going to see some sort of recovery here, like let's say 30,000 is the new bottom, and we hold it, I don't think we're going to see a V-shaped recovery back to all-time highs, just like screaming back up. I think we're operating on the principle of momentum here. The momentum has to be reversed, and I don't think that momentum is just going to get reversed with a big strong bang here. So let's look at some other factors that can be influencing this, because don't forget, like, crypto is not in isolation. Okay, we don't have just like crypto as this strong uncorrelated asset class that exists outside of the world economy. So other macroeconomic factors will affect crypto. What's going on in the stock market will affect crypto. What's going on in other markets, have an impact. So let's take a look at that. Again, like I said, I do not claim to be an expert in macroeconomics, do not claim to be an expert in technical analysis or anything like this. I'm just looking at, sort of the big picture of what I can make sense of. Because again, at the end of the day, I'm a developer. I like to stay in my lane in terms of what my expertise actually is. But I've been watching these markets for a while, and I can tell you like some just kind of big picture things. And I like to lean on people who have stronger takes in these areas of strength than I do. So let's look at a tweet here. So from Mike Novogratz, he's saying basically all markets are looking ugly this morning. Of course, my words added. Crypto heavy, stocks heavy, rates bid, summer plus delta, plus China slowing, plus everyone had gotten really long. Rates might have one more surge lower. If this is a correction in stocks, it's just starting. So feels bad, and we're only 3% from all-time high. So that's what I was saying. Basically, crypto is not in isolation. So if we are going to see other markets correct, this could put some more heavy pressure on crypto itself. We can actually look to see what's kind of going on in the stock markets in particular. I've been watching, some other, people in this space who are super into stocks get a little worried. The S&P 500 is getting pretty close to erasing a month's worth of gains. So you can see that on my screen here. So the S&P 500, 4,259 when we were basically started the month at 4,224. Okay, on the 7 day, it's pretty red. On the 1 day, also pretty red. So it's very possible that we're in some sort of kind of major overall correction. And if that's the case, and this, corresponds to what's sort of the vulnerable place that crypto's in right now, it could get bad. I should be 100% realistic about that. Because crypto is not an uncorrelated asset class at this point. Like we saw this back in March of 2020 when, the big world events that were happening. I'm not really supposed to talk about on YouTube for the algorithm. At least that's the superstition out there. Back in March 2020, when we saw a big correction across all markets, crypto took a 50% drop, basically, at least in Bitcoin price and others. So, who knows what's going to happen again? I can't predict a major market move like that. But if we did see any kind of correction, then if history is any indicator, we'll probably see that bleed into crypto as well. So, let me know what you all think down in the comment section below. So what would be the lowest ETH will go? Any ideas? Yeah, I don't have any idea. Let's go ahead and take a look at the Ether price here. There's some sort of superstitions that cryptocurrencies won't drop below their previous all-time highs. So, for example, Bitcoin's, when I say all-time highs, I mean historic all-time highs of previous cryptocurrency cycles. So, for example, let me just pull up a simple chart on my screen here. If you look at the Bitcoin price, for example, let's look at just all-time. So if you look at Bitcoin's previous all-time high from 2017, the sort of historical all-time high at the top of a market cycle, this was about $20,000. So there's sort of some superstitions out there that say like, hey, there's no way Bitcoin's going to break $20,000 because it's a historical all-time high from a previous market cycle. Because if you look at the past market cycles of Bitcoin, like that's sort of the unwritten rule that people have established. I don't know that's necessarily true, right? Like, I think you can think in terms of likelihood, like it's unlikely to do that as a strong resistance point. But I don't think there's any rules that says it can't do it. I think that's going to, shake some people's faith in the asset itself. Kind of it'd be a scary moment if it does break that. But I don't think that even if it does break that, I don't think that means like Bitcoin's dead and the whole space is going away. If that does happen and that's the sentiment, that could potentially be like the buying opportunity of a lifetime. Because, if you have long-term faith in the space and then everybody in the entire consensus, this is dead, it's over, that's usually like the floor. So we'll wait and see. Same thing for ETH. Like, there's a very realistic scenario that, like, Bitcoin doesn't break its historical all-time high, like it stays above 20,000, and ETH like breaks below its prior all-time high, right? I mean, its prior all-time high is about $1,300 to $1,400, and we're not very far away from that right now. So I'll take a look at that here. So ETH to USD, 1,828. Its prior all-time high was, about in this area between $1,300, $1,400. Depends on what exchange you were on. That would bring us back to, January levels. So with every other metric that I'm seeing in this space, a lot of stuff is going back to January levels. I mean, search volume on Google is back to January levels. YouTube traffic's back to January levels. All this type of stuff. There's a very real chance that Ether could go back there, right? And it could even break it, and Bitcoin honestly break its previous all-time high. I don't think that means Ether is dead or anything if that happens, but these are just scenarios that we have to start taking seriously based on the overall momentum. Because of course, if we look at ETH on its moving averages as well, we're starting to we really have to reclaim these, and overall, like, ETH is going to get weighed down by the market in general. Like, there's no way that EIP 1559 and Layer 2 is going to come out and just save everything for ETH. That's not why I'm necessarily excited about those in the first place. Again, at the end of the day, my focus is on building this technology, and that's going to produce the results over the long term. And those major technological advancements are massive leaps forward for this space, and I get super excited about those things for sure. And, the price tends to be correlated with those things, but usually over the long term, and is usually a lagging indicator, okay? So, yeah, I think ETH is just getting weighed down by the market as well, and it's just like trying to fight a massive headwind. There's not really much you can do about it. Somebody says if ETH hits 1K, you better load up. Somebody says the stock market will bring crypto lower. Everyone's been worried about Greyscale, but forgot all the leverage from those, the stimulus checks. All right, so that's enough of the sort of bearish sentiment on the markets. Let's actually look at some positive, amazing stuff that's happening in the space, okay? I want to talk about the price, because that's kind of what everybody's looking at this morning. Bitcoin's really struggling to hold that price level. Ether's trying to struggle to hold its price levels. But let's actually look at some positive stuff, because like I was saying a minute ago, at the end of the day, like, I care most about the technology, because that's what's going to produce the results over the long term. A lot of the hype tends to follow that stuff. Price tends to follow hype. Therefore, these things tend to be correlated. But I do still think there's solid value propositions that can be created by the technology that can also accrue to the price themselves over the long term. So let's look at that. So the first thing I want to talk about is Aave releasing a pretty cool project. They're actually talking about a decentralized Twitter. Okay, so we've seen some experiments of, let's just see here. Let me pull it up. I had a link saved on my screen. Let me just pull it up on there. So we're talking about the importance of a censorship-resistant blockchain-based social media platform. And we've seen experiments with this happen in the past. Some have none have like quite hit the mainstream yet. None have gotten like tons of adoption, but we do have, Aave, a decentralized finance application, one of the most popular applications off of Ethereum, is a saving lending platform, branching out to release an Ethereum-based Twitter alternative this year. Okay, so that's soon. Like, we still have less than 6 months left in this year. So why is this cool? Okay. So like I said, we've seen attempts to create Twitter clones in the blockchain before. None of them have really taken off, but we do have somebody who has created a massively successful Ethereum-based project in decentralized finance, stepping into the world of Web3 and social media. So one reason I'm pretty excited about this is I've talked about how Web3 can be a huge trend in blockchain, but there's still some blockers for Web3 for Web3 to take off. So What are some of those blockers? Well, basically, it's not all just about the technology and how advanced it is or how user-friendly it is, okay? That's definitely a factor, but I think a lot of people get this wrong in crypto where they think, oh, the big thing holding crypto back is, the user experience. The apps are too slow, they're too expensive, they're confusing when you go to the websites. There's all these steps you have to jump through to get started. That's not really true. That's not what's holding a lot of crypto projects back, in my opinion. The thing that's holding it back is product market fit and use cases and really compelling reasons for people to use the technology in the first place. That's what's going to make the most difference, because if you use that same logic to apply to cryptocurrencies, like that was really the first major use case for blockchain, which is really financial speculation, just buying something you think is going to increase in price and then making a lot of money with it. And the user experience, and especially in the early days for buying and holding cryptocurrency and speculating on it and trading, was terrible. Like we had to go KYC at really sketchy exchanges. You could lose your money pretty easily, right? So that's terrible user experience, but people would jump through all those hoops because there was a big potential reason why they want to use it in the long run, a big payoff. So same thing for DeFi. DeFi doesn't have great user experience, but people would flock to DeFi, especially in the early days, because they could get these massive benefits they couldn't get somewhere else. So to me, that's one of the things that's holding back, a lot of Web3, a lot of, stuff like a Twitter clone in the blockchain is why would you use it in the first place over something else, okay? And so what I'm excited to see about this, we'll see what actually, we'll see whether this takes off or not, is, we have basically an insider in the Web3 world who's been successful at this, who understands the market, understands what their needs are, and we have a lot of activity around crypto on Twitter in the first place. And so I guess the point I'm trying to make is we have somebody who's very in tune with what that market wants and in tune with the tools that they already use. And if anybody's got a good shot at making a Twitter clone that could be sticky for the crypto community, then they got a pretty good shot at doing it. So I'm excited to see what this is, how it turns out. I'll definitely be checking that out as soon as it launches. So we talked about Greyscale earlier, with the Greyscale Bitcoin unlock. Let me just pull this up here. We do have some positive news on the Greyscale front, though, where basically they're launching a DeFi fund. Let me just pull this on my screen. Let's see here. Let me just pull it up on my screen here. So Grayscale is opening up Grayscale, the trust I was talking about before, where people are, buying Bitcoin through the trust, getting exposure to it that way. We talked about that being kind of the unlock that was a little bit bearish for cryptos this weekend that I was saying to watch out for. They're also opening a DeFi fund, okay? They've included lots of different DeFi projects in here, and it's basically working like an index. So they're including all these different assets and they're weighting them. They're kind of talking about they're deciding the allocation, and then you sort of buy shares in this, and you get exposure to their you get exposure to it that way, and they kind of decide how much exposure you get with each asset. Okay, so think about like an index, like any other index you might understand in traditional markets, like S&P 500 is an index. It's a basket of a bunch of companies that are put together to help, kind of the top performing companies that are supposed to be weighted to give you sort of good returns. So same type of thing here. So you can see which, and the whole benefit there is you're getting the index. You don't have to pick individual companies, and they weight them for you. So Uniswap is almost half. So Aave, the project I was talking about a minute ago, is launching the Twitter clone, popular DeFi application, 10.5%, or sorry, 10.25%. Compound, Curve, MakerDAO, Sushiswap, Synthetics, Finance, UMA, and Bancor Network. So the cool thing that I'm seeing here is basically outside demand for these assets over the long term. At least that's what Greyscale's seeing. Or at least either they're seeing that or they're speculating on that, making a bet on it. The cool thing here is that basically that's an indicator of outside demand for these types of things. And at least they're testing that out, and we'll see whether that takes hold or not. Okay, so got a couple other things here that are cool for the space. I want to see if anybody's other questions in the chat here. So imagine a virtual vault and wallet. Let's be the first to develop it on a game engine. Yeah, that could be cool. Somebody says if Tesla announces that they sold their Bitcoin, the market's going to crash hard. It's very possible. Somebody says, do you see Facebook accepting crypto for ads or becoming a platform like Robinhood? Yeah, I don't know. Okay, so let's look at a couple other things that I thought were pretty cool. So we did see on this list the Greyscale is including Sushiswap. Okay, so Sushiswap was basically born out of sort of the DeFi craze that happened in the summer of 2020. It was actually a fork of Uniswap, and it's kind of branched off and created its own ecosystem. So Sushiswap has had some innovations in the space here. Let me just find it. So we have seen some updates over the past couple days where we're seeing new support for limit orders on Sushiswap version 2. So this is pretty cool, and these are features that I'm seeing kind of added to different decentralized exchanges over time based on user demand. So what is a limit order if you're not familiar with this? So basically a limit order is when you think about like a traditional cryptocurrency exchange where you log on and so let me back up. If you think about a lot of decentralized exchanges right now, basically you go to it and you just see like a box that says, I have this much cryptocurrency and then I want to buy, this much of a different cryptocurrency. So I'll show you what I mean by that. So if you look at Uniswap, basically like you can see like I have ETH and I want to buy a different token, like I select DAI, for example, and just like hit enter and it swaps. So that's just like an instant trade, right? That doesn't let me say, well, I only want to buy if the price goes down to this level, or I only want to sell if the price goes up to this level, right? There's no real automation into the equation where you can just like set it and forget it and then come back and your order's filled. Like you have to sit there and constantly watch the price and click the swap button yourself manually, or be a developer and create a bot that does it. So that's where limit orders come into play. So centralized exchanges and decentralized exchanges typically have very, very different user interfaces and user experiences where like, most centralized exchanges are kind of complex. You see all these like crazy candlestick charts. You see these order books. You see these complex forms for like, limit and like market and all that type of stuff. So limit is basically what I was just talking about, where you can say, hey, I want to buy if it drops down to this price, or I want to sell if it goes up to this price. And it introduces, automation in the equation where you don't have to sit there and kind of watch it all the time. And so we're seeing that demand happen on the blockchain side of things, and we're seeing a jump forward in the space for, Sushiswap to support this. We've seen other decentralized exchanges, implement this as well, but this is a good step forward for, Sushiswap, who I think has been criticized from just siphoning value rather than creating new value. But this is cool. Let's see here. All right, so let's look at another cool thing that I saw coming out. That was pretty impressive, honestly. Let's see here. me just pull up the story on my screen here. So there's actually going to be an Ethereum documentary, an Ethereum movie, all right, that raised a significant amount of funding really fast, okay? So let's just see here. So Ethereum documentary featuring Vitalik Buterin raises $1.9 million in 3 days, okay? So this was actually crowdfunded. I watched the crowdfunding campaign happen. It raised a lot of money pretty fast. But yeah, let's actually go through the details of this. So the cryptocurrency community is highly anticipating release of a new documentary about Ethereum blockchain, with the film's funding campaign exceeding expectations. Yeah, I was honestly surprised at how much they raised and how fast. They had a goal of 750 Ether, and they raised over 1,000 Ether. It was almost $2 million on Friday. Okay, so yeah, this will be exciting. Let's see if they have any release dates for this. Basically, there's a pretty cool book right now. So this is called Ethereum: The Infinite Garden. So if you look at like the Infinite Machine, that's a pretty good book on sort of like the early days of Ethereum till present-ish. That's sort of how it came to be. I highly recommend checking out that book if you want a better understanding of the story of Ethereum and how it came to be. But this looks like a pretty cool movie that's going to come out. I don't know if they have a release date on when it's going to be available. Premiere in the winter of 2023. So it'll take some time. But yeah, definitely keep that on your radar. So let's see if we got any other questions here in the chat. Somebody says ETH will be the best decade investment. Mark my words. It might be. Somebody says, is the 10x Polygon giveaway message for real? Anyone try it? Are they saying it in the chat? If they're saying it in the chat, I can ban them. I doubt it's real. Crazy things happen in crypto for sure. But I doubt the 10x giveaway is real. So like I've been a part of some crazy airdrops where I've been airdropped unbelievable amounts of money. But typically they don't require, like, the scams are usually like, hey, send me money and I'll send you money back. Or like, hey, give me your private keys and I'll send you money. You know what I mean? Like that's what you got to watch out for. Somebody says DeFi is good. No, the giveaways are not for real. Yeah, basically. Or somebody says, post your Ethereum address in your social media account. It's like, yeah, that's probably not how the giveaway is gonna work. They're usually just trying to like scrape data, probably for nefarious purposes, and you'll never get anything. Somebody says Ethereum future contracts for March 2020, it's 50K, and that's over 1.5 billion bets. Interesting, right? Yeah, it's interesting. I haven't fact-checked that. I don't know if it's actually true. If you have a link to that, you can post it in the description. Maybe I can check it out. I've seen that stat float around, but I haven't done any due diligence to verify whether it's accurate or not. So also, like, spamming the chat is probably one of the last ways to get your question answered. You're talking about Ethereum co-founder leaving. I don't know which co-founder you're talking about, so I'm just going to mute you. All right, y'all, I'm going to mute spam here. So you got other questions here. Okay, so it's a good question. If you were to start out as a blockchain developer, the chat just moved on me. If you were to start as a blockchain developer, would you start learning? What would you start learning if you already knew React.js, etc.? Solidity? Yes, definitely. That's exactly where I'd start. So I would answer that question regardless of what your starting point is. I actually saw a tweet thread on this. I'm not going to call the person out, but it was like it's a common misconception, which I have a different take on. It was like talking about here's the path to learning blockchain development, and it's basically the opposite of what I teach on this channel. They were like, well, if you don't know blockchain, then take a step back and like go learn web development, okay, and then probably just go learn about how blockchain works before you start coding. And it's like, I disagree with it, okay? Because the most efficient way is to just jump in. Like, how do you best learn a foreign language? You learn it through immersion, okay? You just jump in and you start doing it. And so that's why I'm a huge fan of project-based learning. And the most efficient way to learn, not the easiest way to learn, but the most efficient way to learn is to basically start with the thing that's going to give you the most benefit and results, which is to learn blockchain first. So basically learning Solidity first, even if you've never programmed before. I actually changed my opinion on this over time, because when I first started down the blockchain route, I was like, yeah, maybe people should have some web development experience before they learn blockchain. But it's not true. Like I've helped people who had zero coding experience break into blockchain, and the fastest way to do that was basically to just start with blockchain and learn everything else you need to go as you grow your skills around it. I mean, I've done interviews with people on my channel who were very junior developers, but provided a lot of value to their team because they knew the blockchain specific side of things with Solidity, with their blockchain knowledge. They couldn't build a mobile app. They couldn't build a web application. They couldn't do really anything else. Their skill set was super narrow, but they provided a massive value to their team because of their specific knowledge. And so that's why I say the most efficient way to learn and to break into the industry and get started fast is to start with blockchain and then learn everything else you need to go as you continue on. Because whenever you become a professional developer, everybody always ends up on the same path, which is self-learning over the long term. So you're never going to fully arrive in your knowledge, and if you learn the most potent, high-value part of your thing first and then learn the less valuable things as you go, you can always learn those things on the job. Now, I think you should have some web development experience and some other type of general development experience before you get hired. It's just, I don't think you need to overwhelm yourself with a bunch of web development experience and concepts before you actually start coding, because you have all this, you're way more likely to quit, I guess is what I'm trying to say. You're way more likely to quit if you go through all this stuff and you don't see the payoff. But if you can just jump in with a tutorial and learn a little bit of blockchain to see as immediate feedback and get some aha moments, that's the fastest way to learn. Somebody says, this guy's awesome. I started watching videos and learned Solidity. In 3 months, made 80,000. Yeah, that's proof right there in the chat. I did not like plant this person. They just showed up and said that. All right, everybody, that's all I got for today. As always, smash that like button down below for the YouTube algorithm. Subscribe to this channel if you haven't already. That really helps these videos out so the more people can learn about blockchain. You know, if you're as fast and have this technology as I am, you want to get your hands dirty, how can you get started today? Well, just like I was saying a second ago, the fastest way to learn is to just jump in and start, learning as you go by building projects. That's the approach that I take on this channel. I got plenty of free courses on my homepage, like Udemy courses, but they're totally free. They'll take you through how to learn blockchain, give you that introduction, build a tutorial project. Now, if you want to take the next step and actually get robust skills, or you want to just jump past the, beginner tutorials and just start, step by step from a beginner all the way to that real world experience level, I can show you how to do that step by step over at dappuniversity.com/bootcamp. Like I was saying before, I've helped people with zero coding experience become, real world blockchain developers in a matter of months. So that's all I've got. Until next time, thanks for watching Dapp University.